If you're listening to this message today, then you are someone who wants more from life, more clarity, more success, more purpose, more discipline. But before you receive any of those things, you must first master the single most important key to unlocking them all, consistency. This is not a word to be taken lightly. It is not a passing trend. It is not something you pick up when you feel inspired and put down when you feel tired. No. Consistency is the backbone of greatness. It is the silent architect behind every breakthrough. It is the hidden force that determines whether your goals will become reality or fade into forgotten dreams. The first thing you must understand is this. Success is not built in explosive spurts. It is carved into existence day after day, decision after decision, habit after habit. The man who achieves anything worthwhile is not the man who works hardest for a moment. He is the one who returns again and again to the work regardless of circumstance. He shows up when it's raining. He shows up when it's boring. He shows up when no one is watching. He shows up when it hurts. That is the law of consistency, and it is the law that governs achievement. The world around you will tempt you to seek shortcuts. It will lure you with promises of fast success and instant gratification. But those are illusions, mirages in the desert. Real success is not found in the sprint, it's earned in the marathon. And that marathon requires one trait above all others. The ability to keep going, to keep pressing, to keep moving forward, no matter how slow the pace or how heavy the resistance. That is what consistency looks like. That is what you must embody. Now, I want you to hear me clearly. Consistency is not the same as perfection. You will make mistakes. You will miss a step. You will face days where your best is not as sharp as it was the day before. But that is not failure. Failure only comes when you stop altogether. Missing one day is human. Missing two is a warning sign. But quitting, that is a decision. And it is a decision you do not have the luxury to entertain if you are serious about living the life you claim to desire. You may ask, how do I force consistency into my life when everything around me is chaotic? The answer is simple, though not always easy. You start by making the commitment, not the promise you make at midnight when inspiration strikes, but the one you keep the next morning when your alarm rings, your energy is low, and your old patterns scream louder than your vision. You must decide that consistency is no longer optional. It is now part of your identity. How do you change your identity? Through repetition. What you do consistently, you eventually become. If you act with discipline, you become disciplined. If you act with clarity, you become clear. If you show up with resolve, you become resolved. Identity is not fixed. It is shaped by your behavior. So if you want to become someone who attracts success, you must first become someone who deserves success. And you earn that right through consistent behavior aligned with your purpose. Let's talk about purpose for a moment. You cannot be consistent in anything until you are committed to something. The reason many men drift is not because they are lazy, it is because they are aimless. They haven't anchored themselves to a meaningful target. They haven't decided what they truly want. Without purpose, there is no reason to endure the grind. Without a vision that compels you, the daily routines feel empty. So ask yourself this question. What is it that I must become in this life? Not what others expect, not what the world says is reasonable, but what your spirit demands. That answer is your compass. And once you have it, you must guard it with everything. From that purpose, you design your actions. You reverse engineer your goals into daily disciplines. You remove the guesswork. You set your priorities. You build habits that support your mission, not distract from it, and you treat each day not as a throwaway, but as a sacred step toward your ultimate vision. One of the great lies of the modern age is that there is always more time, that you can begin tomorrow, that it's okay to take a break before you begin. That kind of thinking is how dreams die, slowly, silently, unnoticed. Consistency kills procrastination. It ends the debate. It says, "This is who I am. This is what I do. Every day, without compromise." The truth is, you don't need more information. You don't need a new system or another secret. You already know enough. What you need is follow-through. What you need is daily application. What you need is to take what you already believe and act like it matters. Success does not belong to the one who knows the most. It belongs to the one who executes the most. And here's something I want you to carry with you. You are always programming your future. Every action you take, every thought you allow, every habit you reinforce is planting seeds. Most people never reap the harvest they desire because they keep changing the seed. They get impatient. They quit too soon. They try one thing for a week and move on to the next. But success is not in trying everything. It's in doing the right things long enough to see them work. That's the power of consistency. It multiplies the small into the significant. It transforms average into exceptional. Understand this. When you are consistent, you don't just build routines, you build character. You learn to trust yourself. And that trust becomes your foundation. When you say you will do something, and you do it every day, you are teaching your mind that your word has power, that your promises are not cheap, that your goals are not negotiable. And over time, that internal alignment becomes unstoppable. But it must be trained. Consistency is not a trait you are born with. It is a muscle. And like any muscle, it only grows through resistance. You must push through the mental fatigue. You must press through the distractions. You must overcome the voice that says, "You've done enough," when you know you're only halfway there. Let me remind you, nothing significant is built overnight. Rome wasn't built in a day, and neither is your future. The foundation takes time. The framework takes effort. The details require precision. But if you stay the course, if you keep laying brick after brick, day after day, eventually the structure begins to rise. And when it does, it will not be by accident. It will be the result of every early morning, every focused hour, every quiet sacrifice you made while no one was watching. And that is the key, while no one is watching. Because most people perform when there is an audience, when the lights are on, when applause is near. But the man who wins is the one who performs when the world is silent. When no one claps, when no one cheers, when all he has is his vision, his work, and his commitment. That is the man who forces consistency into his life. That is the man who bends reality. Consistency is not rigid, it is freeing. It frees you from emotion. It frees you from chaos. It frees you from waiting to feel ready. You no longer rely on motivation. You don't wake up wondering what to do. You already know. You've decided. You've trained. You've become. Now I ask you, what are you becoming? Because if your actions today do not reflect your future tomorrow, then you are living a contradiction. And that contradiction will sabotage your success. But when your behavior aligns with your vision, when your habits reflect your mission, when your consistency becomes your language, your mindset, your environment, then nothing can stop you. Nothing will stop you. You are not here to simply exist. You are here to build, to create, to dominate your own destiny. But none of that can happen if you continue allowing inconsistency to rule your days. You must wake up with intention, move with precision, and refuse to let the distractions of the world dilute your direction. You are either training yourself for success or training yourself for failure. There is no neutral ground. Every day you stay committed, every day you act in alignment with your goals, you push the needle forward. You may not see it at first, but results are never immediate. Results are reflections of the rhythm you maintain. This rhythm is where most people falter. They start strong. They write down goals. They get excited. But the fire fades when challenges rise. They haven't taught themselves to stay lit in the dark. They haven't forged the habit of movement when the emotion is gone. But you, my friend, you must become different. You must condition yourself to act when no feeling supports it. Because the man who is ruled by emotion will always be inconsistent. And the man who is inconsistent will always be enslaved by average. Do not waste your life in cycles of start and stop. Stop chasing the next new thing. Stop restarting with the same enthusiasm only to burn out by the second week. The man who wins is not the one who has the most ideas, he is the one who masters repetition. Excellence is not found in intensity, it's found in consistency. Do the work daily. Improve the process weekly. Grow the results steadily. Here's a truth that most people avoid. Discipline is freedom, it is not a cage, it is the key. The man who disciplines his actions frees his mind. When you no longer rely on motivation to act, you are free. When you no longer let procrastination dictate your schedule, you are free. When you move in obedience to your higher purpose, not your lower feelings, you are free. Consistency is the bridge between who you are and who you are capable of becoming. And now you must ask yourself, what are you becoming? Because whether you know it or not, you are becoming something. Your habits are shaping your future right now. Every morning you snooze your vision, you are becoming someone. Every evening you delay your dream, you are becoming someone. Every moment you resist the work, you are becoming someone. The question is, are you becoming the man you were born to be, or the man the world has conditioned you to become? There is only one way to answer that question. By looking at your consistency. Your patterns are the proof. If your words say one thing but your routines say another, then your words are empty. Your consistency tells the truth even when your mouth tries to lie. So review your days, audit your hours, ask yourself with brutal honesty, do my actions reflect the man I say I want to become? Because if they don't, then something must change, and it must change now. There is no more time to waste. No more years to give to procrastination. No more days to offer mediocrity. Your vision depends on your consistency. Your destiny depends on your decision. Your future depends on your follow-through. And so you begin. Not tomorrow, not next Monday. Now, you build a schedule. You define your priorities. You identify your non-negotiables. You no longer ask yourself, do I feel like doing this? You replace that question with, is this aligned with who I must become? If the answer is yes, then you do it without hesitation, without negotiation. This is how you rewire the mind. Not through intensity, but through repetition. Not through promises, but through practices. The consistent man does not need to talk about his goals. His actions scream them loud enough. He does not need applause. His progress is reward enough. He does not need permission. His purpose has already authorized him. Understand this. Success is a reflection of structure. The man who succeeds is the man who has mastered his schedule. He is not reactive. He is proactive. He does not move based on how the wind blows. He moves based on how he's built. And he's built himself brick by brick, day by day, action by action. That is the power of consistency. It allows you to create results even when the world is unpredictable. It gives you control over your direction, even when circumstances shift. It protects your momentum, even when motivation dies. And yes, motivation will die. It is temporary. It is fleeting, but consistency, once developed, is a force. It becomes automatic. It becomes second nature. And that's the goal, not to force yourself forever, but to become the kind of man who moves forward as naturally as he breathes. Consistency will cost you. It will cost you comfort. It will cost you convenience. It will cost you your old self. But what it gives in return is worth far more. Confidence, progress, mastery, peace, clarity, results, freedom. And do not think for a moment that the world will make this easy. It won't. You will be tested. You will be distracted. You will be doubted. But that's part of the process. Consistency is forged in fire. The more resistance you face, the more discipline you build. The harder it becomes to continue, the more powerful you become when you do. So build yourself into someone unstoppable. Start small if you must, but start. Build a streak. Track your habits. Celebrate the days you follow through. Let those days stack until the momentum becomes so strong it's harder to stop than to continue. Eventually, you will notice something profound. Your identity has shifted. You are no longer trying to be consistent. You are consistent. You are no longer chasing success. Success is now catching up to the man you've become. You don't just believe in your goal. You trust yourself to reach it. And that's the greatest power of consistency. It teaches you to trust you. When you no longer break promises to yourself, your confidence becomes unshakable. And with that confidence, there is nothing you cannot do. No goal too high, no task too hard, no resistance too strong. Now remember this, it's not about how fast you go, it's about how long you keep going. A slow man who never stops will always outpace the fast man who quits. So don't look to speed, look to steadiness. Don't chase flashes, build fires that never go out. This world rewards the consistent, not because they are better, but because they are relentless. Not because they have more, but because they stayed longer. They pushed further. They refused to quit. And eventually, the world moved in their favor. So the question is simple. Will you stay the course? Will you choose discipline over distraction? Will you act when others delay? Will you keep your word even when no one is watching? Because that's what it takes. That's what will set you apart. That's what will guarantee your rise. Consistency. You must now understand this powerful truth. Consistency does not begin with action, it begins with identity. Until you change the way you see yourself, your efforts will always be temporary. You cannot force consistency if deep inside you still believe you're the type of person who quits. You must rewire your self-image to reflect the person who follows through no matter what. You must declare within yourself, I am the type of individual who does what he says he will do daily, repeatedly, reliably. And that declaration must be backed by evidence, your habits, your structure, your discipline. Let's break this down even further. Consistency is the result of alignment, when your thoughts, actions, and values are all moving in the same direction. If even one of these is out of order, your momentum will collapse. You can't think one way, act another, and expect peace. You must unify your focus. If your goal is success, then every piece of your daily behavior must reflect that goal. If your aim is mastery, then every small decision must bend toward excellence. There is no room for inconsistency when you are building something that must last. And yes, I said must last, because that's what we're doing here. We are not interested in temporary success. We are not chasing moments of applause. We are building a foundation that sustains pressure, defies resistance, and holds under the weight of legacy. That kind of success, the kind that echoes across generations, requires a level of consistency that most will never understand. Consistency is not glamorous. It is not popular. It does not entertain. It disciplines. It demands. It chisels you into the man who can be trusted with great responsibility. If you want to rise, you must be stable. If you want to lead, you must be reliable. If you want to dominate your field, you must be predictable in your effort, your values, your performance, because no one bets on inconsistency. The marketplace does not reward the unpredictable, it rewards the trustworthy. Now hear this clearly. Consistency creates momentum, and momentum makes you unstoppable. Every time you show up, you add fuel to your fire. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you deepen your belief. Every day you refuse to skip the process, you expand your capacity. And before long, your actions compound. Your consistency becomes so embedded, so automatic, that people look at you and say, that man is different. And they are right, you have become different by design. But let me warn you, just because you become consistent does not mean life becomes easy. In fact, it may get harder. As you rise, more will be demanded of you. More distractions will test you. More responsibilities will press you. And this is where most men fall. They believe that discipline ends with achievement. But the truth is, discipline only begins once the reward arrives. Can you maintain consistency when you no longer need to prove anything? That's the real test. Not whether you can build momentum when you're hungry, but whether you can sustain it when you're full. You must make consistency a permanent part of your character. Not something you do to get results, but something you do because it's who you are. When discipline becomes part of your nature, the results take care of themselves. You no longer chase victory. You attract it. You don't force respect, you earn it. You don't seek opportunity, you become the kind of person opportunity seeks. And how do you get there? By making a choice every day. By reminding yourself that today matters. By remembering that the man who wins is not the one who does the most once in a while, but the one who does the right things without fail. By refusing to let emotions sabotage execution. By cutting off all other options. By embracing the boredom of repetition. By understanding that growth does not happen in excitement, it happens in commitment. You may have to walk alone. You may have to go without applause. You may have to sacrifice convenience. But that is the path, that is the price. That is the blueprint of those who rise. You must now come to terms with this reality. The reward only comes after you've proven that you won't stop. That's how the universe works. It gives to those who have shown they can handle it. And the only way to prove that you're ready is through consistency. Not for a week, not for a season, but until it becomes your reflex. Make it your goal to become unshakable. Make it your aim to become consistent in your thoughts, your habits, your attitude, your energy. When you control those things, when they stop fluctuating with circumstances, you become powerful. You become magnetic. You become dependable, predictable, and valuable. You become the kind of man the world cannot ignore. But to reach that level, you must commit today to remove the things that cause inconsistency. Eliminate distractions. Cut off the habits that weaken your focus. Let go of the voices that encourage excuses. Replace them with structures, systems, accountability, purpose. Build a life that makes it easier to be disciplined than it is to be scattered. Your environment matters. Set it up to reflect the man you are becoming. And when failure visits, and it will, you do not retreat. You adjust, you recalibrate, but you do not stop. Stopping is not in your vocabulary anymore because you have decided that success is no longer a wish. It is your responsibility. It is your duty. It is the result of your daily alignment. This is where most men will never go. They will look for motivation. They will wait for the right time. They will depend on energy. But you don't wait. You initiate. You don't hesitate. You dominate. You don't excuse. You execute. And that difference over time changes everything. It changes your income. It changes your relationships. It changes your reputation. It changes your level of peace. It changes the legacy you leave behind. Consistency is not just about success. It's about becoming the man who is no longer tossed around by life. The man who has mastered himself. The man who has earned the right to lead. That is what you are building, one day at a time. And so I leave you with this challenge. From this day forward, let your actions speak louder than your intentions. Let your consistency outlast your motivation. Let your character outshine your circumstances. Show up, do the work, keep your word, build your life brick by brick with ruthless dedication. And when the world looks up and calls you lucky, you'll know the truth. It wasn't luck. It was consistency. And it was worth it.